Exploits of a Deep Sea Anomaly Archiver by InukShaken. I've been in my line of work for nearly 30 years now, and I've only really been allowed to see the good stuff for about the last 5. I can't go into much detail on specifics. Most of the work is classified in one country or another, and leaking certain fine details would get me and a whole shopping list of other people in a dangerous amount of trouble. I'm nearing retirement though, and I thought I'd record some things before I get too old to remember them. There's a ton of stuff that I want to talk about, but I'll touch on a few and really dive into a good one. Pardon the pun. Where to start? I guess ghost tubs are a good one. It's cooler than it sounds. It's an industry term. We seem to like to downplay a lot of the stuff that we find. Anyway, part of our work is to investigate things that other exploration teams get scared off from. If we get a report of a ghost tub, it's nearly always done with a remote-controlled drone. Now, they're not really tubs, they're actually sunken submarines. I don't really know who coined the tub thing, but it's stuck. Some submarines have giant holes blasted through them. Some seem to be in pristine condition, other than the fact that they're sitting miles underwater. It doesn't matter much how they look, any sub can be called a tub. What's weird about them is when a drone goes by a porthole, there's light coming from it. Usually there's nearly no natural light at the depth these vessels sink to, so the light is very pronounced. We haven't found a clean tub yet. In all of our years of searching and the tens of them that we've found, all of the ghost tubs that we've found have had the windows on the portholes intact, but very, very cloudy. On most, it's nearly impossible to see anything inside of them, even if there is a light coming from them. Picture having to wipe off the cold sheen of condensation in the winter to look through a window. It looks kind of like that. Over the years, we've found only one that gave us even a glimpse into the submarine through the window. We saw shadows moving all over the place. Human shapes too. Not like marine animals at all. It seemed like they were running in circles at the time. Another standout and equally rare tub is one that we called, in poor taste, a porn star. It was a tub that not only could we see the light within, but also had a major hull breach, so we could get a drone inside it. We had 2 drones on that mission, one outside watching the light through the cloudy window, and one inside trying to find the source. No one can explain what we found. Simultaneously, the drone on the inside recorded the room with no light within, while the drone on the outside recorded light. We even drove the inner drone up to the porthole and greeted the outside drone. Still, one had light and the other recorded none. The most recent and intriguing discovery we've made in regards to these submarines are the vibrations that they emit. We've now started putting a device up to the glass, and we get vibrations in return. Nearly every submarine we've gathered this information from has a different vibration. They happen in odd spurts, speeding up, slowing down, stronger, weaker. All of them go in what seems to be their own unique, never-ending loop, starting and ending at some unknown point. There are strange ones though, ones that seem to be the same as others, but vibration-wise at least. They have always been from the same country of origin and have sunk in the same year, if this is the case. They can be on opposite sides of the world, but if they share these 2 factors, they usually vibrate the same. Enough about tubs though, let's talk about monsters. That's what you really want to hear about. Gigantic versions of normal animals is what you'll usually find. Giant squids, sure, but they're pretty boring. There are video records of what we in the industry call Titanic Squids, not only for their size, but because the guy that recorded the first one boasted that it could have taken down the Titanic. That's a bit of a stretch, but their size seems even crazier. 2 of them, if you can believe it, showed signs of still being adolescents, and were already rounding out at about 80 feet. The third and final ever found was certainly full grown, as its tentacles were about as thick as tree trunks. and trailed off into the abyssal blackness of its home, as the lights of our diving apparatus weren't strong enough to illuminate the whole thing. Definitely over 1,000 feet, though. We also had the absolute privilege of watching it hunt briefly. It was barely a snack, and it wasn't much of a hunt either, though. The squid simply moved towards the deep sea shark, and the shark spasmed violently for a moment, and then it became totally still and the squid devoured it. For that matter, giant sharks exist too, though nothing that beats a megalodon. There is one species whose largest specimen can reach the size of a rather small megalodon, but overall they're smaller. What else is there? There are massive species of eels, though those really aren't very impressive. Usually it seems to be predators. There are more, just none that come to my mind right now. We can actually talk about monsters now, and not just supersized animals. Let's talk about A613. That's its official name. I call it Taranthrak the Annihilator, because it looks like some Lovecraftian science fiction old god thing. Most of the time, it just seems a huge mass of squirming tentacles, nearly 200 feet long, with a huge, jagged underbite of a jaw sticking out from beneath the chaos. It usually hangs out just below where natural light from the sun ends, and the inky blackness begins. We've been watching it for years now, and only once has it ever been observed feeding. In a matter of seconds, its attention span snapped towards the surface, tentacles went flying, and in only a few moments, what seemed to be 3 large party yachts were dragged down. In the commotion, the tentacles for once leaving the swarm that usually envelopes the creature, you could briefly see the silhouetted form of what looked strikingly like a gigantic biped. Don't be too afraid though. Sometimes A613 swims to southern waters, but it usually hangs out around Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. Well, those are a few of my stories. I hope you guys enjoyed them. Just remember, there's always a bigger fish